What? Oh, there we go. Hey, welcome everybody to our recruitment makeover show. And Katie and I were laughing because we're like, Gordon Ramsay who? You've got nothing on us guys. So I am delighted to be here with Katie and the amazing Laura Hartley from Laura Hartley Recruitment. So welcome, Laura.
Thank you very much for having me.
So this whole makeover show is about showing our lovely community clients basically these pots of gold that are right underneath their nose that maybe they haven't noticed. And the whole purpose, the makeover is designed to show you how you can get better results, you can get more profit, but ultimately with you being able to step back and live the life that you want to live. Because let's be honest, the whole reason we set up the businesses to work for ourselves was to give us freedom. And I don't know, certainly what I found when I started running my own recruitment business and didn't have things sorted, it was like I was trapped in this machine of my own making, and that wasn't actually that enjoyable. So what Katie's and I mission is to show everyone that you have got the opportunity to create whatever life that you want, and you can have a very profitable business with a really stealth-like streamlined team, and also do whatever else you want to do at the same time too. So that is fundamentally what we're about, isn't it, Katie?
That is what is available. That's on the offer.
So yes. So today with Laura, we are going to be digging deep under the bonnet of her business, and we're going to be looking at like what these tiny tweaks, these what we call profit levers, that if she focused her attention in maybe a couple of different places would make a significant difference. So Laura, welcome. Would you be able to just give the people watching a bit of a lowdown on yourself, what you do, the business that you run, the size of your team?
Yeah, fabulous. So I founded LHR back in April 2009. It seems like forever ago, doesn't it? So we're about 13 years old. It's been a phenomenal journey. We started in recession. We've gone through a pandemic and lots of other things in between. And one of the reasons why I wanted to come on the show, Nikki, is I've been trying to move away from my business day to day because I also am a coach, and I work with a number of businesses where I coach in their business. So, and what I wanted to do was give our manager the best opportunity. And so we've just recently recruited a manager, and I knew the numbers weren't stacking up, and the things that we've stopped doing because you get out of the habit of doing things. And I think one of the things I mentioned to you was, we stopped measuring the numbers, and I can't tell you why. I can use COVID as an excuse, but it isn't. I don't know why we stopped measuring the numbers. So as a business, we provide temp and perm across the UK. Most of our clients are based in Lancashire. And we also have some global clients we work with, resourcing remote roles for those, and roles where they might be in a hospitality environment, but senior level. So we've got clients in Singapore, South Africa, the US, which is
brilliant. Absolutely. And could you tell us the makeup of your team currently, please?
Yeah, so we've always been a business that values working mums. So we've got some part-time workers. So we've got our office manager, who's been with us 7 years, and she's really the backbone. She makes sure all our T's and C's are in, the compliance is there, our temps are paid on time and correctly, raises all our invoices, as well as does some PA work for myself. And then we have Danielle, who's just started with us. She's a branch manager, experienced branch manager for about 2 years, but has been in recruitment for about 5-6 years, and she's come from the care industry. We have Louise, who's our BDM. Oh, sorry, she's just had a baby, so she's doing 3 days a week. And we've got Louise, who joined us February last year as our BDM. Louise has a medical condition, which means that she now works part-time. She does about 28 hours a week. And that works for us because it's BDM, and she still does some networking, and she's just the face of the company. We have Amber, who only joined us last week. So Danielle joined us 2 weeks ago, our BM, and Amber joined us on Wednesday last week. So she's been with us literally a week. and she's joined us as a resourcer, and she's full time. And then we have Anne, who's our fairy godmother, really. So Anne ups her hours when we need her to, but she's contracted to 10 hours a week. But at the moment, because we're so busy, she's doing about 30.
And what's Anne's role?
Anne's a resourcer as well.
Resourcer, okay. So who is actually doing like the delivery, the client work, sorting out the candidates on interview? Who's doing
Anne. So Anne's been doing it for the last 2 months, and that's also split with Amber as well, who's just joined us.
So who deals with the clients, liaises with the clients, organises interviews, all that?
They'll have their own roles that they work on. So the jobs will be split between them. So,
and when you say them, who's them?
Anne and Amber.
Okay. So if we look at the billings on the temp and the perm side, that's mainly Anne. Like certainly over the last 3 months would be Anne.
Yeah.
Okay. And she splits, so she does perm and temp.
Yeah. But a lot of our temps are long term, Nikki, and they're not. It's not like we get. They're mainly customer service, 12 weeks temp to perm, or there might be a 6-week contract. There's very few roles that we get as a ad hoc. We need a receptionist for tomorrow. It's usually planned resources.
Okay.
And long term as well.
And what would you say the split is between temp and perm?
In revenue, it's probably about 65% temp.
Yeah.
And the remainder perms.
Okay. And on like a month-to-month basis, how much, if you look at business coming in through your long-standing clients, how much of that 65% is existing business?
90% of it.
Okay, cool. So 90%. Okay. And how many temps have you got running out
about
on
14,
average?
15, that's all. Yeah.
40, 50. Okay. And what's like their weekly GP?
Between our lowest one's about £90 a week. Our highest one is about 150.
150. Okay. Okay. So 90 divided by 5. Okay. So divided by 90. Just working out some maths. So you make about £2.40 per hour.
No, because their average hours are less, so it's about 330, 350.
So 330. Okay, 330. Yeah. Okay. And what would be the average amount of hours they would work?
Our average hours are around 28 to 30.
28 to 30. And they say that they would generally be working like a 12-week. So
yeah,
3
most
months.
of them will be on 12 weeks, yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Alrighty, that's cool. Okay, so, and here's, it was funny because I was speaking to Laura to say, right, we've only uncovered about £250,000 of hidden profit. And then I realised I've only done it on the perm side. I haven't even looked at the temp side. So what I promise I will do, Laura, is the same analysis on the temp side and send it through, because I think you might find there'll be some absolute beauties in that too. Right, I'm just going to change the screen so we can see everyone. Right, okay. Right, so what we do that's different, I think, to anyone globally is we look at what's already happening in a business, and we know there is there's some really amazing stuff happening, but what tends to happen is because we get caught up in day-to-day running and chaos, we take on stuff that we probably shouldn't be. And the truth is that build a business to 7 or 8 figure turnover, or even like a 7-figure GP business, is always easier and simpler and faster than you think. But I think we just get caught in this craziness of life. And we always talk about this quote from Stephen Covey because it really sums up, I think, what's happening in most recruitment businesses, which is, leaders really climb to the highest tree in the jungle and they go, right, are we in the right jungle? But most managers, or most, I don't want to say this, business owners are so busy chopping away at the undergrowth, they don't even realise they're in the wrong jungle. Mm-hmm. And so what we're going to do with this part of the session is look at, what are the bits of the jungle that actually are the right bits for you, and this is where the data is just amazing, but we amalgamate this data with our 80-20 rule. So Katie, can you just share what this 80-20 is and why it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So the 80-20, and I think, Laurie, you'll probably be familiar with it, as I imagine a lot of people are that might be listening in to our session. So 80-20 is Pareto's law, and it is a universal law that plays out in every aspect of our lives, so both personal and business, in fact. And I'll give you an example, because personal sometimes is easier for us to associate with. So for example, let me just explain. So essentially 20% of our activities, our resources, our time, our efforts, or our input, shall I say, create 80% of our output. So in other words, for example, Laura, you're probably like me. You wear 20% of your wardrobe 80% of the time. Yeah.
How could you tell?
Yeah. And we listen to 20% of our music 80% of the time. And we actually, believe it or not, walk on 20% of our carpet 80% of the time. So in other words, this plays out, it's a universal law, and it plays out in all aspects of our life. Now, where this gets really interesting and super sexy within your business is if you think about your business and you think about 20% of your time during the day, where you spend that actually gives you 80% of your results. And that goes for your team as well. And it could even be things like, for example, there'll be 20% of the job types that you take that actually give you 80% of your results. So when we know this universal law and we start applying it to our business, we can start to see where are the parts of our business, our time, energy, and attention, and parts of our business and resources that actually, if we were to really dive into those, we call them like your project magic profit levers. If we were to dive into those and master those and focus, like obsess about those and get really, really good about them and master those, what would that do to our output? Well, it would double, triple our output very, very quickly and simply. And actually what's really super sexy here is with less time, energy, and attention. So with less. So in other words, we don't have to grow our business. We don't have to necessarily go out there and get lots and lots of different types of jobs for us to make more money. We could actually just hone in on that 20% that give us 80% of our results and have more of those. So this is essentially what the Pareto's law shows us in our business.
And what we want people to understand here is once you get really clear on your 20%, you stop doing the 80% that you shouldn't be doing. This is where you also then create, and no joke, it will create like an extra 6 hours a day across the business. Like it will give your consultants and your team between 4 to 6 hours extra a day to then do other stuff. So what the goal is to know what the 20% is, do more of that, get rid of the 80%, and then do it again, and then do it again. So that's what this is all about. Now, there's also these things in our business, we call them magic profit levers. And these are tiny tweaks that you can make in your process or parts of your process to make a significant difference. So one of them, and this is not the case for you, by the way, Laura, which you're a unique catch on this. Most people that we speak to, like one of their big profit levers is what we call their gold jobs profit levers. So they will be placing anywhere between 4 and 20% of the jobs. And if that is you and you've got that level of placing, there's a massive opportunity to make a significant increase in results. Now, interestingly, Laura, you place 69%. Certainly in the last 3 months, you placed 69% of your jobs, which is way above average. And I want to give you a massive high five for that, because that is not a usual thing that we see. It's awesome. And no wonder you've got a great reputation, because people can come to you and know that they're going to get jobs filled. And there's reasons behind why that's happening in your business too. So I just wanted, you need to celebrate that with Anne, because it will be her who's been doing this. And that is way above average. Potentially, can you do better? Yes, but actually there's other areas that you could be focusing on. It's going to be a better use of your time, and that can be an area that you look at later, but it wouldn't be somewhere we'd be saying straight off. So job fill rate is one magic profit lever. Doing more with the candidates you register is another one. Increasing the salary level that you are focusing on, again, is another magic profit lever, because you're going to put the same amount of energy into placing somebody on an 18 grand basic to somebody on a 40 grand basic. But the difference in the fee level is significant. Another magic profit lever is the percentage that you charge your clients. And I've guessed that your percentage, by the way, Laura, I made an assumption it's about 12%. Am I right?
Yeah, we went to fixed fees 2 years ago. And the reason we made that decision, we have it on our website, so it's very transparent. We just got fed up of competing against people on price. And clients then coming back saying, well, that 15% or that 10% or whatever it was is too high, or we don't want to pay that. So we just went fixed fees. Let's put it on our website with nothing to hide. Everyone pays the same. They know what the brackets are. And that's, to be fair, that's got rid of a lot of time wasting for clients, because it's very upfront and transparent what they've been charged, rather than saying it's 15% of the annual salary, but we don't know what we're going to pay.
Okay, interesting. Be interesting to get Katie's take on that in a minute, for sure. Because I think that can work in certain spaces. So, for example, if you're doing lower level roles, customer service, admin, it certainly wouldn't be something we would be recommending. Actually, we probably wouldn't recommend it at all. But certainly, if you're doing high level roles, you're really shooting yourself in the foot by doing that significantly. Okay. And then there's these tiny tweaks. So, for example, and this is what I want to show you, like, say your team could get one extra job a week. What difference would that make? Or say they could send one extra CV a day. So it's hardly any different, but like these tiny little things start to add up in a really big way. So this is another thing we call like tiny tweaks. And when you do these tiny tweaks with the magic profit levers, this is when magic starts to happen. So as I'm, people listening in, I want you to be thinking about the analysis I'm going to show you, because this is something to be doing in your business, but also when we go through the tiny tweaks with Laura, like thinking like, what would happen if I did this in my business? So we always start with reality, and I asked Laura to do like a full assessment, and like even doing that assessment, how was that? Like, what ahas did you get from doing the data assessment?
The main one was we're not doing it at all. The guys are doing what they're doing, but we're not measuring it, and we're certainly not doing anything with the data there.
Yeah, and we have the saying like, regulate yourself on data, not emotion. And I can't tell you the number of people, who will, and it's COVID sort of killed this because everybody was obviously working from home. But previous to that, like as an MD, a lot of people go onto the sales floor and like gauge, are we okay? Is there a buzz or not? And if there's a buzz, they felt great. But actually, it doesn't matter how buzzy your office is, if the right activity is not being done consistently in the right areas, it's not going to make any difference. So data is absolutely crucial, and I think a lot of people don't do it, to be honest, because it's not in their natural flow. There'll be creators, big dynamo energy, and it's like, certainly, Katie, like we talk about this, like it's not in our natural flow, but probably was one of the skills that we both had to work really hard about becoming great with stats and then analysing it, but that personally for me was the difference between being in control and having consistent billings versus like feeling totally blind and out of control. I don't know, Katie.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I call it my GPS. I think without it, you're flying, like say you're flying blind, aren't you? You never actually know, well, what's the destination I'm going to reach and how am I going to get there? I like to know the how. And that's what I think the data gives you. Is it gives you that insight. It's a bit like, that kind of laser focus, the Superman approach of, now I can see inside the situation and see how I can actually impact that. And I know that a lot of people think about, you know, and a lot of our clients talk to us about it. I understand if you've been in recruitment and you haven't necessarily worked for certain types of recruitment businesses, and so maybe your experience of data and key success factors, as we like to call them, or KPIs, you know, is a negative. You've had a bad experience, and I understand that. And it's a shame, because when you learn how to use these things as really motivational tools, but also the path to success, how to get there faster and quicker, and with ease, it's like a paradigm shift of what stats actually mean to you. And from somebody who is totally, like allergic to that sort of thing, you know, I can suddenly be leaning right in going, oh no, I love stats now, I really want to, you know, give me more. I really want to understand them. And that was really, you know, my old CEO got me to really appreciate the value of stats, and I forever will thank him for that.
Yeah, the goldmine. Well, and this is where I'm going to show you the goldmine of stats within your business. So Laura, this is just from your perm side. Apologies about the temp, but I always trust the process on this. There'd be a reason why I didn't get your temps figures, whatever reason, I don't know what it is yet, but we'll find that. So right, so when we're looking at these stats, so this is specifically with the perm business, what I'm looking at is the quantity, and as I'm going through them, I'm thinking, if this was me, is this good, is this above average, or is this not good quantity? And then we'd want to look at the quality. So last 13 weeks, 16 jobs won, which averages 1.2 jobs a week. 36 candidates registered, which is averaged 3 candidates a week. 123 CVs sent, so 10 CVs sent a week. 74 interviews booked, which is 6 a week, and 1 placement a week. There's some really good stuff in this, and there's also other areas. I'm just thinking, you know, I didn't know obviously the makeup of your team, but I'm thinking, if I had somebody who's purely focused on perm recruitment and they were doing it 24/7, like, well, not eight hours a day, they could be definitely finding more than 1 job a week, and they could definitely be sending more than 10 CVs a week. But actually, they're doing a very good level of first interviews. That's really very decent. And what you will see is the candidates they're registering are the right quality candidates. They're not wasting. So actually, those, you know, and 1 placement a week, 4 placements a month is what, you know, what an average recruiter should be doing. And I want, if Anne's watching this, or if she gets to watch this, I want to say, Anne, good on you, lady, because this is great. And I think if we can show you how you can, like, there's a couple of things we can show you. If she had something else, she would double, if not triple, her billings. Right, then I want to look at these things called ratios, which are quality, right? So we look at how many jobs you're needing to register to make a placement. And this is the stat, which is a really nice stat in your business. So you're filling 69% of your jobs. So the jobs that you're getting, out of 10 jobs, you're filling 7 of them. So there's only 3 jobs you're not, which is really great. Could it be better? Always. We've got 1 client at the minute who places 100% of their jobs, but it's pretty rare. I've only ever known 2 people in 13 years who do that. You're having to register 3 candidates to make a placement. Again, industry average is about 3 to 1, so you're on par with that. So this is the interesting bit. You're sending 7, if not 8 CVs to each job. So there's a ton of work going in, and then for each interview, you're getting 5 people out on interview for each job, and there's a lot of work there. And this is one of the areas I want to say about, because she's covering the job so well, but it's like, actually, does she need to have 5 candidates on interview, or could she do it with less? She could do it with less, and then just save herself all of the work that goes with those other 2 people that she's putting in. CV sent to an interview, so she's sending less than 2 CVs. That actually is normally industry average is 2 to 1. So again, she's just above industry average, and she's getting 7 interviews to make a placement, and that is a little bit high, but nothing major
Yeah.
to worry about. So 31% of candidates registered to filled. So there's some really good stuff, like really good stuff here. So what it's saying is the quality of what is happening is awesome, but where it's the quantity of one key area that will change the trajectory of your world. So here's some useful stats. I'm going to call these golden metrics. If you can get 3 interviews to a job, actually I've put the wrong percentage, you're 72% more likely to place the job, right? If you get 4 first interviews for a job, it only adds an extra 3%. If you get 5 interviews, it's hardly any more. So the magic number is 3.
Yeah.
So actually she could stop at 3 first interviews for a job and she'd continue to place the same amount as long as those 3 were goodies.
Yeah.
2 interviews per job, it will you're 60% likely to place the job. So and I remember talking with another Laura actually who worked in the learning and development area, and she took this 3 interviews to each job, and I don't know, we saw her maybe in the November, and then I was speaking to her in the January, and she'd had her biggest month ever. She'd made 18 placements with 2 of them. And I'm like, Jesus, what did you do, Laura? And she said, all I did, Nikki, was I focused on finding 3 first interviews for each job, and I placed every single job that I had. So that is like a golden thing to get either your consultants, and we used to run like incentives around it because we knew it was such a valuable thing. If they could work a job properly, they basically crossed it off away from competition, and we were 72% likely to fill that job. Hundreds of thousands of pounds, just that one thing. Now, there's some tiny tweaks here that make a big difference. We talked about these tiny things. If you change, it's hardly any more work, but over time, these things really build up. Now, I'm just going to move to a different area. Right. So these are our tiny tweaks areas. So what I've just done here, so first of all, I've looked at gold jobs. If you were to tweak that by 10%, what difference would that make to your bottom line profit? So it would give you an extra 16 grand a year by doing a 10% job fill rate. If you could place more candidates that you registered, again by 10%, that would give you an extra 37,000 a year. And there's strategies, by the way, behind all of these. Mm-hmm. If you could increase your fee, it's going to make not a lot of difference, about 7 grand a year. So like there's all of these tiny tweaks you could do, but we're saying there's some that are going to be massively better than others. If you increased your salary level and you increased your fee, that would also make, I've just put so say you focused on, even 12% fees at 25k salaries, that would give you an extra 27 grand. So no extra work, different focus. Yeah. Then we looked at these, and this is where I want you to pay attention. If your team could win 1 extra job a week, just 1 job a week, you'd make an extra £81,000 a year, which is an extra 6,700 a month. And this, what would you do with that money, Laura? 6.5 grand extra a month.
Would invest it in either a new BDM or some marketing kind of function.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And if you could invest it, so say, for example, you got 2 jobs a week, this is the power of it, right? Then you're sitting on 160 grand just with that one. Literally, if that's all you focus on, how do we get an extra 1 job a week in perm? That would give you 81 grand a year. 2 extra jobs would give you 160. 3 extra jobs a week would give you £243,000 extra.
Yeah.
And so if you think about this, you keep Anne doing what she's doing because she's an amazing account manager. Yeah. We don't want her to be doing any cold calling, new business development. No, we just want her filling the roles. Yeah. But we then get either someone or something, and this could be automated through people or technology, that then generates an extra job a week. Now, it's not saying that she can't generate leads and she can't do business development, because she could be doing that with her existing candidates, asking them for referrals, recommendations, leads. But she's not going to be going out and knocking down doors.
No.
But if you had somebody, even if on a part-time basis, that's all they did, and they got an extra one job a week, you might pay them, I don't know, even if they're on a part-time basis, the equivalent of 15,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's. Katie, do you want to add in?
Yeah,
on that?
what I was going to say as well, Laura, is you've got Louise there that you mentioned, haven't you, who does that business development part-time. Yeah. If she was really laser focused, if you could give her the direction on where specifically, so if you look back, we were saying success leaves clues. If you were to look back at the 20%, so what we're looking at is the sources of the types of jobs that you're taking that you have that awesome success rate with. You look at where those jobs come from. So mapping back, how do you win those jobs? What's the source of them? What's the step-by-step process that happens for you to get those types of jobs? Because there'll be clues in that as to where then, like what's the type of source that you want to look at? And also, when you look at that type of client that is generating those jobs, there'll be some commonalities around that profile of that client. Like we call them avatar clients.
Yeah,
and essentially, do you? So when you know who your avatar client is, you'll know that avatar client has commonalities, characteristics, they'll have demographics. There's a profile that makes a makeup of that client. And when you can get absolutely clear on what that makeup is, it means that then how to, or you can see where you can get more of those types of clients, because you know who they are, so you know where they hang out and you know where you need to go to get them. And the source will also support you with that, because it could be and again, like you're saying, the stats will lead back to this, but you might be surprised at what the real or the actual trigger point is for you getting those jobs on. It might actually be a referral. It might actually somehow be a word of mouth. It could be all sorts of ways. But when you start looking back at that and looking at the data, going back to what Nikki was saying about we use data, not emotion, we can then really see what it is, what's that 20% that's giving those types of jobs, and then we can do more of that. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because going back to what Nikki was saying there about the 3 interview process, and I used to teach my guys this, and it's actually, there's science behind this, by the way, but like, why do we need 3? Because we tend to, everyone likes an element of choice. Generally, people like to believe like they've got a choice in front of them, and so they're making a decision based on that. So if you've got one person in the mix, if you're only sending one candidate to a job, people are like, well, that's not enough. Even as recruiters, if we were going to recruit somebody into our team, would we make a decision based on one candidate? Very rarely. Now, if we had 2, okay, that's better. I've got a 50-50. But when you add that 3rd one into the pot, it's like, oh, okay, so I haven't just got one benchmark, I've got 2. And so it actually helps people to make decisions. But like Nikki was saying, if your lady is adding 4 or 5 in, she's actually starting to make it more difficult for the client to make a decision, right? Because more complexity actually makes it more difficult for somebody to make a decision. So too many choices is not good. But let's say so if she's focusing herself and she's getting 3 of those first stage interviews, then she's actually going to be leveraging her time. She'll be able to work more jobs, and therefore she would be able, because she could work 2 jobs for the current energy of 1. Hence how easy it is to then start making more money, but less work.
Yes, totally.
We like that.
We like that. We like that. We do like that.
And what Katie's saying about this, the commonality and there's a certain type of client, like, do not underestimate the power of what she's saying, because I I know it's something we never really looked at in our recruitment business. If I'd known now back then, oh my God, it would have totally transformed everything, because there will be a certain type of business that you're really good at working with that is totally different from your competition. And once you work out then, how do I attract them? You know, what's my method that works for me? This is where you're not competing against price. And this is where you could actually move away from a set fee, because you're not having a conversation about 10%, you know, what's it going to cost me? Actually, we're having a totally different level of conversation about how we add significant value and how we partner with you. And, you know, and this is the difference it makes, because as soon as you get into that cost conversation, you're comparing chicken, you know, grapes with, you know, tomatoes. Like,
yeah.
And this is a thing, like you're delivering like a Ferrari level service, but you're charging Skoda prices. Yeah. And your competitors, I don't know them, but I would be really surprised if they are delivering the same level of service, and also able to charge 10% fees. And like this, we spend quite a lot of time in our program unpicking people's sort of beliefs and mindsets around this, because it's so ingrained in us. But once you realize your value and you know how to present that to a client, and you know how to educate them on what you do, it will change your world, because you'll be able to pay then the fees that you're worth. So coming back to this, right, for you, your quality is really good. It's the quantity, but we're not looking at a crazy amount more quantity. We're like just one extra job a week. And I looked at here, what would happen if they sent an extra CV a day? So I don't know, so you marketed out an extra CV a day to potential clients, or you sent like a mail shot with your hot candidates to your avatar clients. If you just sent one CV a day, that's an extra 57 grand a year, right? Wow. Okay, and now let's come to my final slide. No, this is not as big as I would like it. So what I've done is I've like amalgamated all of the areas that you could tweak. So if you did all of the tweaks across all of the areas, you've got an extra 243 grand's worth of revenue, right?
Awesome.
But
congrats.
Yeah, absolutely. But what we would be saying here is, if you just purely look at your jobs one, right, and I want to put this in perspective, because at the moment you guys are billing the equivalent, I think it's 9,000 a month, on perm. Obviously your temps, you've got your temp stuff going on as well, but even if you just did this one area, so 9,000 divided by 81, that is a 111% increase. Actually, that might even be more than that.
Probably 1,000
divided by 9. It's a 90% growth. Yeah. With that one area. So and this for me, I don't know. I'd be looking at how do we, you know, it's then the strategy of how can we win one extra job a week, and that's then you, by doing like this analysis we talked about, getting really clear on who you're going to target, what your success has been past, and you might need to go back. You know, quite often we've got clients who've been working with companies for years and years, and it's like, how did you first win that job? You know, that relationship 12 years ago. Was it something you marketed in? Was it a candidate that then turned into a client? Was it a candidate that you didn't place that you did a really good job that turned into a client? Was it a cold call? Was it a drop it? Like, what was it? Because whatever that way was is what you want to, then we want to build a system behind that, because that's the way you'll win new business moving forward. So tell me what's going through your mind, what ahas, what learnings, what are you thinking?
I'm really excited, because now it's not just down to Anne, it's down to Amber as well, who's just joined us. So there's obviously more revenue there to be had as well.
The thing is though, right, Amber is a resourcer, right? So you've got 2 account managers. Now, you can get them to develop business, but you'll know from talent dynamics, they're not going to be cold calling, knocking down doors, being proactive. So like Amber at the moment, you're putting Amber in with Anne, but they've still not got enough. They haven't got enough jobs coming in. So you're just going to dilute what Anne's doing.
But what we can do is pass the leads to Louise. So one of the things that I recognised wasn't happening was because we're a value-driven business, and what we don't want to do is ask a candidate where they're going on interview, who they've already been to, with waiting for a decision, and then go and target that company there and then. What we will do is pass the lead to Louise and do that later on. So it'll go on Louise's list for 3 months' time or 6 weeks' time to contact them. And that's because we want to build this relationship with our candidates and not pinch the job from under them. I've worked like that for 20 years.
But is that the way that you won your, if you think of your buying clients now, like how did you win that client in the beginning?
Word of mouth usually.
Okay. And when you say word of mouth, like how did that word of mouth happen?
They've either heard of us, so someone's recommended us through referrals, or they've gone on Google and recognised the brand.
Okay. So if it is referrals and recommendations, so for example, that would be the strategy I would be looking at. How can we get referrals to get into these companies? And so it's not asking, I mean, leads could be one of the ways you do it, but that's not going to be your main area necessarily for winning new business.
When you say you didn't want to take the job off someone, who were you referring to, the client or the candidate?
Candidate.
So you're saying, so if a candidate is you're working with a candidate, you're representing them, but you don't want to ask them if they're interviewing anywhere else.
Yeah, we'll ask them if they're interviewing, but we won't. If they tell us, they say, well, I've got an interview tomorrow with AJ Smith. What we won't do is then ring AJ Smith and spec somebody else in. It just doesn't sit with me.
Okay.
As much as there's a fee to be had, we want our candidates to trust us.
Yeah.
And if we're then poaching jobs, so they don't get the job and the agent says, oh yeah, LHR filled it. And they say, well, you didn't know about that till I told you. That would make me not sleep at night.
Okay. Do you have more than one opportunity for a candidate?
Yeah, usually, yeah.
Yeah.
And
right.
if we haven't, Louise specs them. So if we see a candidate and put forward for one job, we want the candidate to have a choice.
Yeah.
So if we've got 3 jobs already live, we'll put them forward for 3. If they're on interview with one, then we may not market them as aggressively as we would do.
Yeah.
And we also send mail shots out as well for candidates.
And what about from your client's perspective?
Which part?
Well, so for example, let's say I work at that business. Sorry, I couldn't remember the name, MJ, whoever. Yeah, MJ Smith. Right. I work for them and I want to work with the best agency that are going to give me that 70 to 80% conversion rate. I want the best consultant on my job. And that is your business.
I wouldn't go after that vacancy. It would be a future one. I'm not saying we wouldn't target them at all, but for that one vacancy, we would give that candidate the opportunity and then we would target the company afterwards. So once they've had feedback, then we would put them on our list to convert.
Okay. So if I called you up, you would be happy to turn me away as a client?
No, if you've called me, that's different because we're not going after that business. So if you ring me and say we're working with another agency, but we're not getting the quality through, absolutely, we'd snatch your hand off and want to work with you.
Okay. But I could take a candidate on. That candidate might not be the right candidate for me, but you'd still be comfortable with that.
That's been your choice because that's the agency you chose to work with. However, you would already be on our list then to talk to once that candidate's either been rejected or started, we would then start to build the relationship with you.
Okay. Well, I mean, that is your choice. From a client perspective, you've got two sets of customers. How am I as a client going to get that best level of service? Because really, I want the best person on the job, and potentially I'm not going to hear about them until later down the line. It's not necessarily what you do, it's the way that you do it, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know if it would sit with me.
Which is fair enough. I think, and one of the things which is absolutely crucial is that, you're making sure that you're doing as you would want done for you or with you. And, I do think though that there's other ways to utilize that information. It might not be where else they're going on interview, but it's knowing that when they leave that job, there'll be a space there.
Oh yeah,
we get back to getting more savvy
into that company. Yeah.
But what I would say though is, like you're saying about getting leads, but that might not be the best way for you to generate new business. Yeah. And so then you need to do an analysis on, if you look at all your buying clients and you look at your top 10 buying clients, how did we win those guys from the get-go? And if 80% of them were won through leads, getting leads, that's what, go after that. If it was marketing and account, was it referrals or recommendations, then that's the one thing that you need to go after. And the reason I'm saying this is because people keep thinking, like, if I need to try this new thing, there's this new thing on the market, and then we're saying, no, let's look at what you've been doing that's been working, and we need you then to do more of that one thing. Yeah. So that's why we're saying, like, regulate your emotions or regulate your decisions on data and patterns, and then build the process moving forward. So yeah.
And also, Laura, just on that business development, I'm sensing that there's probably there's an opportunity for you here about how you do business development in a sort of like so what we teach our clients that business development can be done very simply, easily, and actually everyone can play a part in it, no matter what their profile is. Everyone can play a part in it, and it means that you can always continuously doing business development, because at the moment it sounds as though there's a little bit happening, and maybe that process is only through, let's say, I don't know, business development calls. But actually, if we look at how that can be done on a continuous basis, day to day, every touch point you're having with a candidate, every touch point you're having with a client, so that the clients start to raise their hand and say, I want you to work with me. You're not going to then be in those positions of feeling as though you've got to hold yourself back, or that maybe it may be perceived by somebody, or that doesn't feel like an ethical or moral way for you to do business development. It's like, right, let's find all the ways in which we can be doing it, so that actually those things start to come to you rather than you're going to the opportunity. Because there is an element there where you're holding yourself back for a client that actually really wants your service, and that's not right either. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I don't know where it comes from. Maybe it's from corporate, where
it's a belief
that you have to do that. It's part of your KPIs.
Yeah. It's part of your value system.
Yeah.
So there'll be something in there. Nikki mentioned earlier about sort of belief systems. There'll be something in your belief system and your values which it's not congruent with.
Yeah.
So, and if you like, from a client perspective, if we move and we sit in the shoes of the client, it's like, hold on a minute, I want that woman to call me. Like, I don't know about her. Of course I want her to call me. If she hears that I might have an opportunity and I want the best candidates, I want the best person on the job.
And I've never looked at it from the client side before.
Yeah.
Because we do put them on our list for to call them in 4 weeks to see how it's gone. Even if our candidate who's registered with us hasn't got the job, because we constantly touching base with them, see what's going on in their world, we would then call that company and see how it's going. We may then spec in, so it's a sales admin role, we may spec in a sales admin person, so we've just filled it, okay, can I keep in touch with you, and do it that way. But I don't feel like we're taking that opportunity from somebody that we wouldn't have known about it had they not come to register with us.
Yes, and I would go with your gut on this totally. There's something else to add into this though. Like there's wherever you focus your attention, you focus your energy. So like what gets counted counts. So one of the things with this is almost like to set the intention, to work out like actually how much do we want to be billing in the perm team a month with, our BD and our two account managers. What's our magic number? What would be a number that would absolutely bowl us over, like we'll be so excited about? So it might be, for example, 30 grand.
I'm going to say 30k a month would be great. Yeah, absolutely.
So then knowing that you need 30 grand a month, and we know that your fill rate, so to get 30 grand, your jobs to fill rate is 1.5. So 30,000 at the moment, your average fee is what, 2.5?
Yeah.
Yep. So it's 12 placements a month. So times that by 1.5. So you need 18 jobs a month.
Yeah.
Which is 4.5 jobs a week, right? So where you focus your attention is where you focus your energy. So if you make that really visual, you communicate, you brainstorm, how are we going to get 4.5? I'd say, how do we get 5 jobs? How are we going to get 5 jobs a week? And I start tracking it. And it's almost like every time you hit it, you accelerate. But like on a weekly basis, that is like a golden metric. Like we need 5 jobs a week, because Anne and Amber are going to do their amazingness behind them, but all we need to really focus on is 5 jobs a week.
Yeah,
the team are going to as soon as a job comes in, the team will look after it. So that for me is another really important thing for you to get on. And just so you know, like, and your team, your branch manager, like this is where she needs to start championing that. Like I call it like banging the drum. So you've got to bang this jobs drum and for like 2,000 times, or probably consistently on a daily basis for 4 months before it lands into people's psyche. And so that's what they're focusing on. Watch what happens with it's like a vortex of energy.
Yeah,
stuff starts coming out of nowhere. Like people start phoning you up from nowhere, because that's where you're focusing your energy.
Yeah.
And this is where the magic, this is like I don't know, we call it the woo-woo stuff, but it's energy. It's, your thoughts are energy. You set an clear intention. We want 5 jobs a week, and we're going to brainstorm and take action, inspired action. But that's the goal that you want. And it's almost like, and you just allow it in, but you keep focusing on it. So that, and 30 grand a month times that by 12, 360 grand a year.
Yeah.
Just looking at that one thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
How else?
All right. Cool. All right. So any other questions, Laura, for us on this?
No, I just need to go away and percolate.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to send you through the analysis that I've done for you, so you've got it. And any other questions, please reach out. And what I want just to say, so those people watching, if you want to, so there's a strategy behind this, like, and what we can do with you is fast forward what it would probably take you 6 months to figure out. I mean, you could go away and do this on your own totally, or you can come in and you could basically, we've literally got a step-by-step plug and play process that you can implement. Now, is it going to take work? Absolutely. You need to implement, you have to change things, but you can get results significantly quicker if you get help to do it, because we've got a system that we know works and we know models. So anybody watching, if you're watching this and thinking, like I don't know what these pots of gold are, but I don't know how to do it. We can help. So if you do want to achieve that with your business, you want to fast forward your results significantly quicker and ultimately get more time, that money's great, but also time and money are even better. Then we can help you to achieve that a lot quicker than if you're doing it on your own. So all you need to do, if you want help, just put yes in the comments below, and we will reach out and we'll have a chat and see if there's any synergy, if we can help. So that's all you need to do.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm going to in 3 months and let you know how we're doing, ladies. How's that?
Yeah, do. We'll have you back on.
I can't wait. I can't wait. All right, Laura.
You both.
Excellent.
Take care, my dear.
Yeah,
See you
good
soon.
luck.
Bye.
See you later.